The button is pushed, and we are live. Good morning, everyone. Uh, Morning. This is Monday, number 5 of uh, no working from your office. um, I am Seth from Milano Meravigli in downtown Milan, coming to you from my bedroom in Ortica,
No,
Lambrate.
no, don't put your address on the internet.
Oh God, you're right. This is the whole world that can find this. I was thinking like my neighborhood was fine, but I'm not just talking to my school. I mean, I'm in Sesto San Giovanni. I didn't even give my real neighborhood. That's not my neighborhood.
Right,
Um,
right.
it's not really. It kind of is, but not really. Um, I'm saying too much. Shut up, Seth. Why don't you tell us about who you are?
Hello, everyone. Good morning to another Monday with us. We have a viewer. Good morning, singular viewer.
It's
Welcome
probably our
to.
boss.
He's the only one who cares. Welcome to another focus activity with Seth and myself. Thank you for joining us at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. And Seth and I have a beautiful focus picked out for you. In case you don't know, my name is Michelle. I am a teacher with Seth in Milano Meravigli. But obviously, we are not in school today, and we're joining you from our living rooms.
Mhm. Here we have, if you guys are watching at home and you want to tell us where you're from, tell us your name, tell us your job, all of the anything about you that you want us to know. So, all right, today, because we are inside, we can't do all the fun celebrating we want to do. We thought we would talk about carnivals. Here it comes. There it is. So, talking a little bit about celebrating. Oh God, they're gone. We're alone. Festivities. um, and I think that you and I, Michelle, can just have a nice time learning about each other's countries a little bit. Because I'm always very interested in yours. Because I have to admit that I know that what I picture in my brain when I picture Pakistan is not what is actually in Pakistan. I have very,
Definitely.
because basically I picture like, well, I think I'm kind of, but I know there's much more to it. You know that I have landed on an airplane in Karachi, and
Absolutely.
the first thing that the thing I remember and that I really remember noticing was like the color that it looks very dry and hot. It's like
Hmm.
brown, like
Hmm.
it's not but not dark, like deserty. And um, but I imagine it's not all like that. Maybe it is.
No,
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 I
it
doubt it is.
isn't. So, my city is to the west and sorry, to the east, and towards the east, further down east, we have a desert. It's part of the what the Indians call their Rajasthan, and we call it the Thar Desert. So we have this massive desert, and my city sits next in between the ocean and the desert. So it is a bit
Cool.
dry and brown and morose looking. But if you go further up north, we have the Indus River flowing from the Himalayas all the way down. And so that area is very green, very lush, and of course,
Hmm.
there's a lot of agriculture up there.
Cool. Yes. I need to read more. I have lots of time to read. I should find. I really enjoy reading books about like um, the history of a country, like in a single book. And of course, like it's like
Mm,
generic because you can't smash so much. But like recently, I read a book about the history of Germany, and even that is very difficult to talk about because the shape and like Germany as our modern day nation is very different from when it began, but it
Right.
gives you just like a general idea of how these areas have, well, because even Pakistan, I mean, I'm sure at different times in the past 2000 years, whatever,
Hmm.
has been parts of, it was part of England, it was part of the what do they call it, the, you know what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
And even parts, I imagine it was probably had parts that were in India, different, it's been different kingdoms, different things. And I find
Hmm.
that interesting, and it gives you an, you know sense of your world. So,
It does. But I don't
but
think the
anyways,
Germans made it to India. I think it was the English and the Dutch. I
mm-hmm.
don't know if that of the Germans. I don't think the
I
Germans
don't think
made it
they did. No, no, no,
to
no,
India.
no.
Yeah, so the English and the Dutch.
Oh, the Dutch. I didn't know
The
that.
Dutch,
They were
absolutely.
like because of the sea, because of the coast and things, because they
Hmm.
were big like sea people. So,
Exactly. So the Dutch tried
huh.
to colonize. So the Dutch and the English had a little bit of had a little fight over over India, over who would get to rule it, and the English one. So it wasn't a fight as in an actual battle, but they were competing to be the ruling colonial power in India.
Oh wow, I didn't know
And
that.
there's something that most people don't know. So in Goa, right,
Hmm.
which is a really famous part of India, Goa was ruled by the Portuguese.
Yeah, I've heard. Don't they speak Portuguese there still? Even.
Absolutely, and I have family from Goa, from my
Huh.
from one of my parents, and they speak Portuguese. They still
Yeah,
speak Portuguese.
when I was in seminary many like 10 years ago, I had a teacher from Goa, and
Mm,
she spoke like 1,000 languages because she spoke Portuguese and she spoke English. And then I don't know if Hindi would be the main language in that
definitely.
part of, but it was interesting talking to her then even about religion, because Goa's history, it's very accepting. People
Hmm.
live side by side, and she said, so like in her house they were a Catholic Christian house, but her neighbors on one side were Muslim and her neighbors on the other side were Hindu.
Right.
And she said it was very, for her it was, like having different peoples and different cultures around was very normal, and she thought the whole world should be like Goa, because no one in Goa gets angry with over these
No,
differences. They're just like,
it
fine.
is what it is.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Goa's pretty
goodness. So
chill.
have you been to Goa?
No, I haven't, but I have a lot of family from Goa, and they live in Karachi now.
Okay.
So, and they speak a special dialect called Goan, which
Hmm.
is a mix. Well, I don't know how it's made. I don't speak it.
Okay. That's you could say that too. If we don't know, that's fine too. So all right. Well, let us get started. This was a good introduction to our lesson because
Hmm.
we're talking about the carnival, which is I don't really know anything, to be honest, about Notting Hill Carnival. Notting Hill, I think, is like a district of London, isn't it?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but we're gonna sort of twist this lesson and talk about some holidays and carnivals in our countries. So, what do we have today? Whoops, too fast. So, in this focus activity, carnivals and countries, describing what we do, the festivities at a carnival, talking about things we like and don't like. Again, always talking about holiday, like special occasions, special days,
Hmm.
and the things that there are and that there aren't. So here we go. Um, Thinking about the world, and also a bit of vocab for our countries. Are there carnivals in these countries? Michelle, do you want to just read for us? So for pronunciation, read the countries, and then maybe after you can go through, and if we know that there's a particular holiday in the countries, we can talk a bit about them.
Definitely. Okay, are there carnivals in these countries? Brazil, the UK, Spain, Germany, Sweden, China, the US, Australia, India, Italy. Example,
Mhm.
is there a carnival in Brazil? I think there is a carnival in Brazil. I think there isn't a carnival in Brazil. Okay, do you know what carnival they have in Brazil?
I think that the carnival in Brazil is related to the carnival in Venice. It's the
Hmm.
carnival like Carnival, but many countries have carnival. Um, I don't know. I know that the one in Rio de
Hmm.
Janeiro, is huge, is really, really
Right.
big. But
That's
I
the
think
one
in
we see on TV.
Yeah, with the ladies with the crazy clothes, dancing, doing the samba, feathers. It looks
Hmm.
cool. I think it looks like a great thing to visit, to see.
Absolutely.
And the music is great too. Oof.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, that the Rio Carnival takes in dancers from certified samba schools, and
Mhm.
every school which participates has to follow with their parade entries,
Yeah.
and they have a little dance which has been choreographed and perfected. So I would love to see one up close.
When I was in university, we talked a lot about like I had to take a course about, world music, and we talked about samba and Brazil, and um I think they're called bateria is the name of like these the schools like for the dancing, but then
Hmm.
they work with musicians also, and they're drummers, and sometimes they're these enormous groups of like hundreds of drummers that will walk before or after the dancers, and apparently like the goal is to kind of like try to be louder than your competition. And so the
Right.
city is just like ridiculous. It seems amazing. And I remember we watched a video where the people from, I think they call them the favelas, like the poor, like the villages up above Rio, they come down into the city. So it's mountains, and so there's like an echo, and that the city's like echoing with these drums. And we watched this video that was like you couldn't you just like couldn't hear anything, but it was really, really cool. You could feel how exciting it was. Just like it looked
Yeah.
super great. And Brazilians are usually like super fun,
Hmm.
really happy people. So I think it would be cool, really cool experience. Let's look at another country. What about um well, like if you think about like Germany, I
Right.
don't think of carnival with Germany, but I do think of a particular thing in Germany. Do you think of anything in particular in Germany?
Nope.
Well, maybe I mean, I'm like stretching, but like Oktoberfest might be
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably when you think of German parties, that's kind of the big one, right?
Right.
Which I think is about it's not about beer, is it? I don't know what the reason for the celebration is, to be honest. I just think of drinking and Munich. That's basically what I think of. Munich, drinking.
So the idea of the Oktoberfest, the initial idea, the first time in the 18 or 17, I'm not sure, 1800s, I think, was to honor the marriage of a prince and a noblewoman or a princess.
L Look at you.
So
History.
this is actually thanks to Google because one night I was out with my friends and we were talking about Oktoberfest and no one could figure out why it was held. So, you just pull out your phone and you're like, okay, I bet you
Oh,
$10.
I'm glad I was able to let you have a secondary experience of sharing your Google moment.
This is the day I was alive for.
So it's not like because the only thing, if I were to try and just like imagine why Oktoberfest, the first thing I go back to is like fall and like pagan culture and celebrating the harvest. None of that.
Well,
That's
it
not
could
right.
have evolved into that, but that was the original reason, right? To celebrate it. But
Huh.
the Germans also do have Carnival, but they celebrate it in they spell it differently, like the Germans spell everything differently. So it's
Are you
Carnival.
looking this up right now as we're talking?
No, I looked it up, before.
Wow. If you were right now, that'd be totally fine. But
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
I would be like, wow. Um, all right. Okay. UK, big festival in UK in the UK. I mean,
Notting
today we
Hill.
have this Notting Hill, but I don't know world fame. I don't know, but I've never heard of it. Um, I don't think of anything particular. I mean, like a big thing that the world knows about in the UK.
I don't
Spain?
know either. I'm pretty sure Spain has a carnival. It seems
I
like the
know.
kind of country that would have a carnival.
Well, usually like the Catholic countries have
Mhm.
Carnival, and I know this from my mother because my mom lived in Spain. Um, that the week before Easter,
Mhm.
which so in the Catholic Church, Holy Week is a big celebration. Not well, I don't know if celebration is the right word because the week before Easter is a heavy week,
Mhm.
but they do a lot of like processions in the streets, parades in the
Right.
streets with statues of Jesus and bleeding and heavy things. But religious culture, so they have that. My mom said it's really beautiful actually. Lots of people singing from windows and throwing
Wow.
yeah.
Mhm.
She said it's quite it's and women wear really beautiful costumes and things. So yeah,
That sounds beautiful. But
yeah.
Spain also has another festival, which is one I think of. The one where they throw tomatoes at each other?
I've heard about this. Yeah. But I don't I just like really briefly, I think I just remember seeing something that was like in Spain they throw tomatoes at it and that was it. But I don't remember why
Yeah, I
or for what.
remember seeing it in a movie, right? And these group of friends went to Spain to take part in the tomato festival. It's held in Valencia. I don't know why, but they throw tomatoes at each other. That's what I know.
That made me think in Spain also of the I don't remember what city it is, but the bulls where they run the bulls through the streets.
Right.
That's kind of a
I don't know what it's called.
famous. No, but I imagine that's probably is that like the beginning of like the bull season? I don't know why they do it, but like because that's a big sport in Spain. Maybe
Hmm.
it's to begin the that sport season. I don't know why they do it. It looks crazy.
It looks crazy and very dangerous.
People die. Yeah, people die
Yeah,
when they
people
do
die straight up.
it. In Sweden, I don't. I think of IKEA. The IKEA festival.
I think IKEA is the only festival we need.
And like recently, I watch a lot of scary movies,
Right.
and the Swedes, they make these movies about themselves. Maybe they're trying to prevent people from coming to their country, but they make a lot of like horror films
Hmm.
where they're like because Sweden, I don't think Sweden has a very large population, and also a lot of it is the forest is and probably quite difficult forest, dense forest, and there's lots of movies about like sort of like pagan these like Scandinavian tribal people who basically are like Satan worshippers, and if you wander into their like forest they like sacrifice you to their tree gods and stuff. And and like they're these great and like Andrea, my we've watched several of them where we finished and we're like, we don't want to go to Sweden anymore. You go there and you pick up the wrong rock, and the next thing you know, you are like tied to a tree. Yeah, with your arms tied to two other trees that are not nearby. Like it's crazy. So we don't want to go there anymore. Not
But
really, but that I don't know.
The strange thing about Sweden is, yes, they make some of the best horror movies out there. But Sweden is a Scandinavian country, and it's up there in the north, so it has a lot of immigrants.
Okay.
Um, so the immigrants who've come in have brought the tradition of Carnival with them.
Hmm.
So you have like a mini version of the Carnival in Brazil,
Ah, cool.
and it didn't start. So it's just been happening, say, in the past 40, 50 years. So there wasn't much before that. And what Sweden celebrates with a lot of pride is the LGBTQ parade, which is
Okay.
one of Sweden's biggest carnivals.
Really nice. Cool.
Yep.
Those nations. Have you ever been to Scandinavia? I've never. I've been in the airport in Denmark, and Denmark is just like beginning to be Scandinavia. But um, I've never. They've seemed like really cool countries. The people. I've always heard that they're very like open-minded, progressive people. Um, Iceland. I don't know. I was in Iceland, but Iceland is also like the outer edge of Scandinavia. So. Um, China, does China have a carnival?
Okay, so the thing with China is that China is definitely not going to have a carnival before
Exactly.
Easter, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Chinese people have their own carnivals. For example, they have New Year's Eve. They have a parade for New Year's Eve, and that's
Chinese New
about
Year is
it.
nuts.
Yeah,
Because
so
I
that's
lived there
their
for 3 years. Yeah.
right. You
And
tell us.
yeah, Chinese New Year is wild. And it's strange for us coming from like the more Western calendar of January 1st being the New Year, because their New Year is based on the moon.
Mhm.
And I don't recall exactly how it's calculated, but it always falls like right around the beginning of February or the end of
Mhm.
January, right around there. But what's really great about it from a perspective of working in China is you usually have a 2 month holiday.
Really?
Yeah, because you go on holiday before like the 12-month calendar New Year, so December 31st, January 1st.
Right.
Um, and then as a teacher, like the Chinese understood that for a Westerner, Christmas is a big, big day. So
Right.
usually their school calendar sort of has included Christmas for the foreigners. and then all of January you're off, and then even for usually almost all of February you're off. Um,
Right.
it's quite nice, especially to go make a trip. I would come home for 2 months in the summer or in the winter. Um, but Chinese New Year is definitely their biggest holiday, and it's really wild. On at midnight on the day of the New Year, of course there's food and they have all these traditions, but at midnight they set off fireworks, but like crazy,
Wow.
like I have never experienced. For like 15-20 minutes the whole city is rumbling, and if you go outside, just everywhere, it's
And
really fantastic.
those fireworks are more elaborate than the fireworks you have back home for the first 4th of July.
I would just say that the difference would be that like these are the fireworks there, it's there in the United States, maybe for the 4th of July, which would be one of our big days in my
Hmm.
country. The fireworks are usually like organized and even like they're very planned. So
Right, of
sometimes there's
course.
even music, and so there's colors, and there's, some that are very, very fancy that do when they explode, they do all kinds of crazy things. These are just like I don't know how to say it, like standard fireworks because you can buy them everywhere. But
Right.
everyone's like, and a lot of it is about noise, not always seeing them. So there's a lot
Oh.
of like these little, like you've probably seen it before. They're like long strips of
Hmm.
little tubes, and each tube is it explodes,
Hmm.
and you'll see people lay down a strip of these like 50 meters, 100 meters long,
Right.
and they light this, and it goes down the entire street. And the noise, because the noise, what the new year for them is about, Chinese New Year is about, like bringing like the new year, but getting rid of the old, and like, and the idea of the noise is that it scares away the evil and the unluckiness. So you make a lot of noise to scare everything away so that the new year starts clean. It's a nice idea.
It's a nice
um
idea. I'm
yeah.
inspired to take a pot and pan and just go banging around my home.
Well, but like you probably could. I think in Napoli, I've heard that New Year's there is nuts, and I think it's the same idea though. That's these old ideas of like, getting rid of spirits and bad energy and whatnot. Um, it's wild though. I'd never experienced anything like that. And that Chinese New Year though, every day for like 2 weeks is
Hmm.
a different like virtue or something. So the one day it's,
Right.
I don't remember what all of them are, but I remember that the eighth day
Hmm.
is the day for wealth. And so the eighth day, all day, people are setting off fireworks because they're trying to bring themselves wealth and scare away the evil spirits of poverty or something. And then another big day is the health day. So the health
Hmm.
day and the money day, people are setting off huge amounts of fireworks. It's really, really cool. It's really, and it's fun because you don't have to work for a long time. So,
And
um,
then, do you get summer vacations as well in July?
yeah, the summer usually
Nice.
school, yeah, usually, and then summer vacation is also July and August, and then even most of September. So you have, I found it to be very well balanced in terms of working because you had such long breaks that you were ready to go back to work, and just when you were getting kind of like, you were done, and you had a really long break. So, um, the only part of it, as I found China difficult to live in, it's the culture was very, very different, and it wore on me with time. But if we had that set up in, in Italy or in the United States, I would be happy as a clam.
Fantastic. Okay, the US, Sad to tell us about the carnivals in the US.
So in terms of carnival, we definitely don't have Carnival. Well, in actually, I should say, because the United States not Catholic, Carnival is very is usually related with Catholic things. But in New Orleans, there's a
Mm.
famous carnival that I have never been to, but a carnival that's also the Lent carnival,
Mhm.
associated with. And there's the tradition of beads. People wear lots of necklaces, and and I think that because the idea with Carnival, it's the last exciting day before Lent starts. And in America, like so many things, it did get turned a little bit naughty. And
Mm.
to get the beads, like the idea is you want to get a necklace from someone else or a bracelet or something. You know this, I think, don't you? But I don't know if,
No.
oh, in order, so like if I see you and I want you to give me some beads, I
Right.
have to do something that makes you want to give them to me. And that has turned into, maybe I show you parts of my body.
Oh.
And it doesn't have to be super, super sexual, but of course, some people take it there.
Right, of
And,
course. Where there's
but,
alcohol.
alcohol, yeah, and I think that maybe, like, even things like maybe it's like giving like kissing you on the cheek or do it, but it's over time it's become more a bit depending on which neighborhood I think of the city you're in. And also that's probably also the very like tourist carnival, because there's an old city in Louisiana, in New Orleans, that's
Mhm.
because it used to be French. Louisiana used to be French, and there's an area, a quarter of the city, the French Quarter, that looks actually very. I don't know. It has its own special look, even in the United States. It's quite unique because it was built by the French rather than by the British side of Europe. So it looks different. The buildings look different, and no, but I know there. I don't
European.
know, like, yeah, yeah. So that neighborhood though apparently has a really. It's one of our oldest cities too. We don't have very
Wow.
old cities, but so it does have. I mean, for us, it's probably one of the more historical things going on in the United States. Um, what about in your country? We can come back to the other ones later, but
In my country, okay, so in my city, we have, you're going to love this, we have a food festival every year
mm,
in January. So it is the biggest festival in my city, and it's really close to my house. It's in this one of the few parks we have. It's
mhm.
massive, and there are lines for a mile to get in. It's so much
Whoa.
fun. And we have food from all over the world. We have really traditional food. So it's basically, and everything goes. But
Uh,
in order to get a kiosk or to be able to sell food at the carnival, you have to go through an audition process. So you have to,
whoa.
yeah, it's
So the food
hardcore.
is good, and the
Food
food
is
must be
so
then. Ah!
It's so good. And you have American, French, Mediterranean,
Okay, so it's not
Pakistani.
just like local flavors, it's a world food festival.
Yep. And like because there's not much else to do, our chefs are incredibly creative. And
Huh.
this is the point. And the restaurants, the really famous restaurants in the city, also take part. And that is where they bring out their test kitchen and they experiment
Cool.
with new food. And they see how it's doing because they have like 4 or 5 days to figure out if it's going to be a hit or a miss. So they bring up this
Nice.
food, a lot of experimental food, traditional food. And I had my first churro
Fusion
there.
stuff. Your first what?
Churro.
Oh, ooh, nice. Yes.
And I took a bite and I was like, oh my God, my life has changed. My life changed.
Nice.
So we
Well,
have
so is
that.
that
Mhm.
yeah, is that like a newer festival then, or did it start as
It's,
more? Because I mean, as a traditional
no,
thing, that sounds newer, but
it is. It started, say, in the past 10 years. Um,
okay.
we have a
But
festival
it's huge.
it's huge. It's
That's
huge.
cool.
There's another festival that's more traditional, and that's traditionally held more towards the north. It's called Basant, and essentially what it is, it's a kite festival. It's celebrated at the end of Feb to celebrate the beginning of spring.
Oh, that's nice. It must be. Have you seen it before? Like, or do people even through the whole country fly kites?
Absolutely. So
Wow.
sometimes it's not, if it falls on a weekend, everyone's flying kites. And the goal is that you fly kites from your roof, from your terrace, at the beach, and you have to try and cut this is the verb we use to cut the line of someone else's kite.
Oh,
So
that's
it's a
fun.
game you engage in, right? So
Yeah.
you try to like fly your kite and through the edges of your kite, cut down someone else's kite or bring
Wow.
down someone else's kite. Yeah.
Well, that's fun. I really enjoy like because like when you start see and nowadays because of just with the internet and whatever like just there's so many things happening in the world that are like some of things are really cool. One of the coolest sort of traditions I saw once when I was in Brazil, I was in the Amazon and we went to this actually I think has to do with Carnival. It is a
Mhm.
Carnival festival, but we were on an island in the Amazon River, a big island though, because the Amazon's enormous. But like, so, and there's a city on this island that has this tradition that what was cool about it is, Brazil is Catholic. So they have, uh, um, oh, nice. Cantamajo. Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for
um,
participating.
they on this island, so the island, the people are Catholic because Brazil has become a Catholic nation, but
Mhm.
there's still lots of like tribal legends and folklore and mythology, and basically the characters from the Christian stories, so like Jesus and Mary and Joseph, have over the time have become like fused with characters from the local myths. So
Right.
in and what's really interesting is like I don't know too much about it. It was explained to me this was like 10 years ago. But um it was the way that the missionaries tried to teach the the people living there when they arrived, these stories. They related the people to their traditional myths. And so what's evolved from that anyways is the colors red and blue are really, really important in those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And in this town, you are either a red family or a blue family. And your house is painted that color. Your
Okay.
street, like the streets, like when you walk onto a street, this is a red street because everyone's house, like this, the city, and I'm talking about like the entire city, and it's a city of like 60 or 70,000 people. It's a big place. The entire city is into this thing. There's nothing to, I mean, that's what they have, there's nothing
Right.
else around. They're in the middle of the jungle. But what's fun is it's a very like happy competition. So what happens then is for like a week before Carnival, I think before like the end of Carnival, there's this
Mm-hmm.
big, they have a stadium, and it's like a huge stadium. Half of it is red, all the seats are red, half of it is blue. And the week before, and all year long, the people from the city are preparing these performances, and they build these huge sculptures, like, and I'm talking like huge, like 20 and 30 meters tall, and they move and stuff and shoot fire. And maybe there's a dragon that's mouth opens and butterflies, like gorgeous, ridiculous stuff. All of it is with music and dancing. So maybe you have these crazy creatures moving, but there are people dancing down below, and all of it are telling this big story that somehow is like Jesus and Mary and Joseph tied together with like snakes and jaguars and cows and stuff. And what's really fun is there are judges who watch, and the winner is the people watching. So, sitting either in the red side or the blue side, are also part of the performance. And so, if like you're on the red team, let's say red team performs, and there's like an order. So, like Monday is red day, Tuesday is blue day, but you all
Right.
go. But like if you're red team, you've been practicing the songs, and it's sort of like what are those things where the people in the audience are dancing, and they know what to do, and they practice. So, and they're doing just like movements, like simple things, but
Right.
when you have like 5,000 people going like this, it makes a really cool impression. Or like
Right.
shaking their hand, whatever, doing things with your head. It When everyone's doing it, you see this. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have this creature that's spitting fire and moving. You have people dancing. You have drummers. You have all this stuff. But what's really cool is the team sits silently and does nothing.
Right.
They sit and they don't move. So you have one side that's completely still, as if to say, like, I'm better than you. And then the next day, when they
Right.
perform, the other side sits. It's really, really fantastic. I'll send you like a link just of like a little video because it was
Definitely.
fantastic. I didn't get to see it happening, but like we saw videos and I heard the music, and it's really, really cool. But like every country has these traditions that are like, there's so many cool things that go on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
Definitely.
we are talking
That's
about everything and nothing. This is like coffee talk. It's great. Let us. Oh wait, I'm gonna just
mm-hmm.
jump forward to see if we can't tie in to some of the other. Well, let me think. Oh, how about with colors? Like when you think of some of these, do you guys have like, so here there's asking what colors are the carnival masks, but like,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys have colors that with any festivals or time or like seasons or times of year?
We do. So for the Festival of Kites, Basant, we associate colors of spring with that. So, lots of bright colors, lots and lots of yellow. Usually the women will wear yellow. That's the official color, or, yellow with pink accents or orange accents, some green. So basically, something really bright, really lively. Definitely no black, right? Definitely no black.
Yeah.
You can throw in some gold. So just really bright
Nice.
colors. But on the other side of the border, we have India. And around the same time, they have a festival called Holi, right?
Hmm.
I'm sure you've heard of it, where they throw
That's the one
lots
with the
of different,
dust, or yeah,
yeah,
the
the
powder.
colored
Yeah.
powder, the colored liquid. And in that festival, they wear white so that their clothes reflect the colors been thrown on them. And that anything goes except for black.
But would the big because Holi would be like a Hindu festival, right?
Yes, it
And
would.
Pakistan is not so Hindu, is it?
No, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that. I'm
Islamic
just
Republic of Pakistan.
yeah. Huh.
But we do
Do you
have
know?
a Hindu minority.
Sure, sure. Do you know what the powder is made of? I always wonder when I see this. I'm like, what if that got in your eyes? Wouldn't it bother the heck out of you? But like,
I don't know. I think it's like talc. It's just basic talc powder which has been colored. That's about it.
okay,
Like rice
okay.
powder, cornstarch, that kind of stuff.
So they're probably like, yeah, somehow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because it's a very old festival, and back in the day, of course, they didn't have any options. So what they would do was take rice powder or cornstarch and then color it, like add it to a bowl of water, a colored water, and color it, and then spread it out and let it dry again,
Let it try again. Yeah, it's a
and
lot of
then
work.
powder. It's a lot of work. That's why we buy it from the market.
And I'm thinking like like yesterday we made bread and how
Mm.
annoying it was to get the flour off of my hands and stuff after. It must be a mess after that festival. Like
It
if it rains, like
absolutely is. It
you have like bread in the streets.
It's crazy. And so usually there's like a field or somewhere where you've designated, okay, this area is going to be where we get dirty and make
Yeah. Yeah.
everything incredibly colorful. So usually it's in an open field, and they actually have one in Milan as well, by the way.
I think it's out over by where I live because I
Yeah,
remember seeing last year.
yeah.
Yeah. This to me feels like cultural appropriation, though, because we don't know why we're doing it.
No,
That
no.
looks
So
fun. Let's do it.
The Hindu community in Milan, or the Indian community in Milan, actually arrange it.
All right, then as long as there's
Yeah.
the moment for us to know why we're doing it, not just to throw color at each other. So,
No, no, we're not Kim Kardashian here.
well, because I have no idea what it's celebrating spring, holy.
Yeah. I mean, the
Okay.
short version is celebrating spring. We don't have time for the long version.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. Um, I'm trying to think like so locally the only in my culture we have locally um nothing religious. It's just really because I'm from a very agricultural area, and so usually not usually but in every town where I live, every town has usually has like a product that it's famous is already too strong, but just that in terms of agriculture that it tends to produce. And every town usually just for a weekend, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially from like June until September, there will be all of these little festivals, and they always have like carnival games, and special foods and things, a lot of fried yummy foods. But like I think I've told you, my town has a melon festival. um there's another town that has a basket festival because the only industry in the town is a basket factory. But the cool thing with this factory is it's not like an industrial plant. It's they're handmade baskets, and the tradition actually is quite old. Um, it's I think this factory, this company, anyways, it's about 200 years old. This basket factory
Wow.
that's become now. I mean, it's a but the people cut the trees into really thin strips. I mean, they're handmade woven baskets. They're really expensive, but they're
I can
beautiful.
imagine.
And they're beautiful baskets though. And um and somehow they hardened the basket, the wood, whatever the wood, it had to do with whatever the wood was that was growing in this town that makes good baskets. So there's a basket festival. We also have a fish festival because I live by the lake. Um, uh, and so there's a fish festival. One town has a really big Irish population,
Mm.
historical Irish. So there's an Irish festival. Um, what are some of the other ones? A peach festival, an apple
Ooh,
festival, a pear festival, a popcorn. One of them has a popcorn festival because they
I
grow
love
corn.
popcorn.
And yeah, so it's kind of fun because if you go to, I know California Bakery right now would be
Mm.
perfect. If it's fun because and it's now that I don't when I was growing up like on the when lived with my parents they would always say like, oh, this weekend let's go to the popcorn festival, and I'd be like, I don't want to go, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I should have done this because it is kind of fun because the
Hmm.
popcorn festival, I really love popcorn, and it was always fun because like they had different flavors of popcorn. They added things,
Mm.
whatever, but you could have like and weird things like popcorn that somehow had been flavored like. But when you think like, what are some of like these classic flavors like kiwi strawberry popcorn?
Ooh, that's so
Like these
classic.
like peaches and yeah, peaches. But like these standard like even things like corn on the cob popcorn, which well,
Ooh,
that's not, or like I'm just trying to think of things because it basically like
ooh, like
anything that you can
chili.
think.
Oh, bacon popcorn.
Yeah,
That could definitely be
yeah,
it.
no, but this is what they would have, and they would, and but things like common, like I'm sure there were probably I can't think of any. There was one with like it was like steak and potato popcorn, and I don't know what it was. Probably just like the seasonings that you typically use on a
Yeah.
steak with butter and maybe even like potato flakes or something like a potato starch, so that you so all kinds of crazy popcorns, and which is fine, and in my town has the actually I live out in the countryside, and I'm in between like an equal distance from the basket festival, the Irish festival, and the melon festival. The melon festival is probably the most fun because of all um the food is the best. The ice cream, the melon ice cream, because there's like watermelon ice cream and
Ooh.
cantaloupe ice cream and honeydew ice cream, all these different varieties
Mm.
of melon that they've turned into ice creams, and it's
Wow.
nice. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
it sounds
nice.
really good. I'm kind of hungry now.
I know, of course, because you and I have been together for an hour and we end on food. So
So logically, we need food now.
yeah. So well, no one really wanted to talk to us today about carnivals. It's all right. We
Yeah,
had a good time.
we did. We did. Okay, well,
Um,
shall we wrap up?
I think so, but there's no one to talk to. We hope that you've enjoyed everything we've done today. We took like a trip around the world today, which was quite fun.
We did.
Um, I think, remember, every hour we got to do all this is the pitch, man. Every hour we've got a lesson for you guys, so stay tuned, keep watching, keep practicing, and thank you so much for coming. And Michelle, you can say your thing, and then I will hang up on us.
Okay, and if don't forget, if you have any pressing English questions, you can find us on Facebook, SOS Myas, right? SOS
SOS
Myas
English, yeah.
English, SOS English. And if you have a question, write to us on our group, and one of us will get back to you ASAP. I think that's it.
Yeah,
Have a great
yeah.
day. Enjoy your Monday.
Thank
I hope
you.
the start to your week is really good, even if the weather isn't. Have a great one.
Cold. See you later. Bye bye.